This morning's verse, we'll start from Srimad Bhagavatam and then we'll transition into the celebration. Okay, so today's celebration is Sri Rama Navami, the appearance day of Lord Sri Ram. And today's Srimad Bhagavatam verse is 10th canto from the prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. And you can see in this painting how Mother Devaki is awaiting the arrival of her divine son. But the demigods have all appeared and offering their prayers. And part of these prayers is this particular verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nate bhavasyesha bhavasya karanam vina vinodam batatarkayamahe bhavo nirodha stithirapya vidyaya Kritayatastvaya bhayashrayatmani. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So demigods are praying. O Supreme Lord, you are not an ordinary living entity appearing in this material world as a result of fruitive activities. Therefore, your appearance or birth in this world has no other cause than your pleasure potency. Similarly, the living entities who are part of you have no cause for miseries like birth, death, and old age, except when these living entities are conducted by your external energy. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, I'll just pause for a second. Srila Prabhupada says, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mamaivaamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and thus they are qualitatively one with the Lord. We can understand that when the Supreme Lord appears or disappears as an incarnation, there is no other cause than His pleasure potency. We cannot force the Supreme Personality of Godhead to appear. As He says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. When there is a need to diminish a burden created by the demons, the Supreme Godhead can do it in many ways because He has multifarious energies. There is no need for Him to come as an incarnation, since He is not forced to do anything like ordinary living entities. Living entities come into this material world in the spirit of enjoyment. But because they want to enjoy without Krishna, Krishna bahirmukha hoya bhogvancha kare, they suffer birth, death, old age, and disease under the control of illusory energy. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, however, no such causes are involved. His descent is an act of His pleasure potency. We should always remember this distinction between the Lord and the ordinary living entity, and not uselessly argue that the Lord cannot come. There are philosophers who do not believe in the Lord's incarnation and who ask, why should the Supreme Lord come? But the answer is, why should He not come? Why should He be controlled by the desire of the living entity? The Lord is free to do whatever He likes. Therefore, this verse says, Vina vinodam batatarkayamahe. It is only for His pleasure that He comes, although He does not need to come. When the living entities come to this world for material enjoyment, they are entangled in karma and karma phala by the Lord's illusory energy. But if one seeks shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, one is again situated in his original liberated state. As stated here, Kritayatastvaya abhayashrayatmani. One who seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord is always fearless. Abhayashrayatmani. Because we are dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we should give up the idea that without Krishna we can enjoy freedom in this material world. This idea is the reason we have become entangled. Now it is our duty to seek shelter again at the Lord's lotus feet. This shelter is described as abhaya, or fearless. Since Krishna is not subject to birth, death, old age, or disease, and since we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are also not subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. But we have become subject to these illusory problems because of our forgetfulness of Krishna and our position as his eternal servants. Jivera Sarupa Haya Krishnera Nityadas. Therefore, if we practice devotional service by always thinking of the Lord, always glorifying him, and always chanting about him, as described in text 37, Shrinvan Granan Samsrayamscha Chintayan, we will be reinstated in our original constitutional position and thus be saved. The demigods therefore encouraged Devaki not to fear Kamsa, but to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was already within her womb. The purport ends here. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. I further offer my obeisances to all of you assembled Vaishnavas and seek your kind blessing and permission that we may glorify the Supreme Lord on this auspicious occasion. So I'm going to share my screen again. So today is Shri Ram Navami, and Lord Ram is glorified and worshipped all over the world by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who spread his holy name everywhere, and his worship is very popular in India, especially. His temples everywhere, of course, and so it's a great day for all of us who are worshippers of Lord Sri Ram, Lord Sri Krishna, who is Lord Ram, and we are very happy to be celebrating. In fact, in our temple that I go to here in Tawaka, we have the Vigraha of Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. This is a photograph we took just a few weeks ago of Sita Ram during our Gaur Purnima festival. So in Brahma Samhita, Lord Ram is mentioned. It says, Ramadi Murtishu Kalani Amena Tishthan Nanavatara Makaroda Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pramanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Ram, Narasimha, Vaman, etc. as the subjective portions. So this is Lord Krishna himself, who is Lord Ram. Interestingly, today's verse also focuses on this aspect of how the Lord comes in various incarnations. And tomorrow's verse that you're going to cover actually mentions Lord Ram, so it just happens to align that way, how the Lord appears. So it's very beautiful. So I thought that today we would kind of go over the pastimes of Lord Sri Ram in summary. Of course, his pastimes are very, very beautiful and very expansive. There's no end to his glories. We could spend literally weeks and weeks on the pastimes of Lord Sri Ram, going into lots of fine detail. But we only have a few minutes this morning, so we'll go through them somewhat at a faster pace. So we'll start the story here, where Dashrath, who had 3 queens, but he was a great king of the world, and he didn't have any sons, didn't have any children, and so he performed a special fire sacrifice. And from that fire sacrifice, a divine personality came out and gave him this pot of sweet rice that he was advised to give to his queens. And so after accepting that Mahaprasadam from this fire sacrifice, the queens bore him sons. So from the 3 queens, they got 4 sons. The oldest was Sri Ram, and then Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna. So all 4 sons were born. And here we see Lord Ram being, lovingly, embraced by his mother Kaushalya. And of course, Dasharath Maharaj, the king, was constantly spending his days with his 4 beautiful sons, but especially he was fond of Lord Sri Ram the most, who is the original personality of Godhead. But of course, the brothers are also the immediate expansions of the Supreme Lord, Lakshman, Bharata, Shatrughna. And he loved all of them very, very much. And he was so grateful that they appeared in his family. Of course, the love of Mother Kaushalya is legendary. She loved Lord Sri Ram. Here, it almost looks like a picture of Mother Yashoda and Sri Krishna. So like that, the Supreme Lord is a person. He's not just an impersonal energy. He comes and he enjoys these beautiful pastimes, these loving exchanges of affection between his father and his mother and his brothers and so on. And of course, he also enjoys the sweet pastimes of playing as a child. Here you can see Lord Sri Ram crawling in the courtyard. Of course, even from a very young age, he did not give up his bow, his arrows. So he had a tiny little bow. You can see his cute little bow he's playing with. And he'd play with his brothers even before they learned to walk. They're playing with their bows and the horses and the Kshatriya toys. It's a very beautiful scene in the courtyard of Ayodhya. And one time, Lord Sri Ram, he sees this crow and he's feeding the crow. Now, this crow has a beautiful story behind it. That crow, his name is Kagbhushandi. And the crow was actually, in his previous life, and it's a long story of Kagbhushandi, but in his previous life, he got a blessing. He was cursed to be a crow, but he also got a blessing because he was very devoted to Lord Sri Ram, that he would come and see Lord Sri Ram. So Kagbhushandi was given the blessing that he will live for the entire day of Lord Brahma. In an entire day of Lord Brahma, there's 1,000 yuga cycles. So Lord Ram appears 1,000 times in that one day. You see, every time there's the Treta Yuga is there, Lord Ram appears. And Kagbhushandi comes every single time and plays with the Lord during his childhood pastimes. So Lord Ram is very, very merciful. And as they grew up, they're taught by their teacher, Vashishta, and then later on Vishwamitra Muni on how to fire weapons and so on. Vishwamitra Muni approached Dasharath Maharaj and he asked that I need your son Ram and Lakshman to accompany me because our fire sacrifices are being ruined by these demoniac people. And Dasharath Maharaj said, I can't do that. I can send you my army. I can send my teenage son. He's like barely 16 years old. He said, no, these are the ones I want. And so, he went, Lord Ram and Lakshman, they went with Vishwamitra and they took care of the demons. They, cleared them out. They're very strong, of course, but they defeated the demons. And as they were traversing through the forest, Lord Ram came across this stone and he knew the story behind this rock. And he touched his foot to the rock and the rock turned into a woman. And that woman was cursed to be a rock for a long time. And she was also blessed at the same time that Lord Ram comes around. He will bless you and she'll be freed from that curse. So her name was Ahalya. So the magical touch of Lord Ram's lotus feet can even turn a rock back into a person. So it's a very a nice pastime. Of course, Lord Ram, being the ideal Kshatriya and the ideal human, showing ideal behavior, always worshipped his masters and his seniors. And here you can see that he's massaging the lotus feet of his guru. And as they're going through the forest, then Vishwamitra said, hey, there is a Swayamvar happening. Swayamvar means it's a special ceremony where a princess will choose her own husband, and so a lot of suitors come and to demonstrate their strength. So of course, this is the Swayamvar of Sita Devi. Now, Sita Devi's father, Janak Maharaj, had laid a condition that anybody who can lift the bow of Lord Shiva, which Janak Maharaj had in his possession, will be able to, will be qualified to marry his daughter, Sita Devi. But so many great kings came that you couldn't even budge the bow an inch. What to speak of lift it? And so Lord Ram came forward. He lifted the bow very effortlessly, and he strung the bow. And as he pulled the string just to kind of, warm up the bow just broke, and it created a thunderous sound that shook the universe. This is the bow of Lord Shiva. And Janak Maharaj was so pleased because he was kind of stressed out. I mean, maybe he felt that this is too big of a requirement, and if nobody's going to be qualified, my daughter won't get married. But of course, Lord Ram came, and then Sita Devi offered her garland, Varmala, to Lord Sri Ram. It's a very beautiful scene where Lord Ram is exchanging glances with Sita Devi, and she gets married. And so this is a very famous wedding where all the demigods come and shower the flowers on the wedding and give their blessings. So Lord Ram gets married to Sita Devi, and with great pomp and celebration atop this elephant. They have this whole parade, and it's really quite nice. Of course, then Lord Ram, he is the Yuvraj. Yuvraj means the crown prince who's going to become the king, and all the citizens were so overjoyed to see that now they're going to be having a beautiful queen who is this, the goddess of fortune herself, and a lot of the perfect couple. Nowadays, people, they kind of idealize different couples, and they think, okay, this is such a cute couple, perfect couple, but they don't really last very long. Sometimes celebrity marriages and all that. But this is the original celebrity marriage, and everybody adored and always wanted to hear, what they did. Did they go to the forest today? Did they go for a walk? Any paintings available? Because back then they didn't have, paparazzi, but they had paintings, and they would, share those. And so the legendary, adorable pastime of Sita and Ram, and people were just anxious to see how beautifully their future is going to unfold when Lord Ram also becomes king, and there will be, ecstasy everywhere in the kingdom. However, as with any story, there's always a kink in the works. So here we see one of the queens of Dashrath, the youngest one. She was very beautiful. Her name was Kaikeyi. And Kaikeyi, she had her son, Kaikeyi's son was Bharata. Among the 4 sons, right? Bharata was one of them. And Kaikeyi was completely in love with Lord Ram, and she was so happy that Ram is going to be the king and Bharat will be his assistant as a younger brother. But Manthara, this old lady here, Manthara was the maidservant of Kaikeyi. And Manthara, unfortunately, corrupted the mind of Kaikeyi by saying, "Don't you see what's happening over here? Kaikeyi, you are the most beautiful, most beloved of the 3 queens. Now if Ram becomes the king, then your husband, Dashrath, he will not give you as much attention as he's been giving you. He'll focus mostly on Kaushalya, the oldest queen. He'll disregard you because his whole focus is Ram. Bharat, who knows what's going to happen to Bharat, your son? He might even be kicked out of the kingdom. Maybe Ram will kick him out. Who knows? Out of envy or something. Best is to right now take full advantage of the boons that the king has given you." So many years before this incident, the king, Dashrath Maharaj, had given Kaikeyi 2 boons because she saved his life during a battle. And Kaikeyi said, I'll cash in those boons later on. I don't really need anything right now. So Mantra reminded her, you got to ask for the 2 boons. And what are the 2 boons? So here Kaikeyi comes to Dashrath Maharaj. You can see she's putting up her 2 fingers. These are the 2 boons. And you have to give them to me. And Dashrath Maharaj said, of course. It's a tradition in our family. Whatever you want, I give you my word. And the word means even if I lose my life, but my word will always remain. So she said, then the two wishes I want is that you make Bharat the king. So this broke the heart of Dashrath. Why are you being so selfish? But he had given his word. And the second boon is you send Ram 14 years in exile in the forest. What? That completely shattered Dashrath Maharaj. So, but he had given his word, so he had to concede. And so Lord Ram was in fact banished. So Lakshman went along with Lord Ram, and Sita Devi also went along with Lord Ram. And Lord Ram here is offering his obeisances to his mother, and he's leaving for the forest. As he's leaving for the forest, Dashrath Maharaj is completely heartbroken. You can see his string of pearls. He just couldn't, he was clutching on to the string of pearls, and even that broke and fell down. You can see the pearls on the floor. And Dashrath Maharaj, he couldn't even get himself to say goodbye, but he had to let them go. And from that point on, Dashrath Maharaj started dying a slow death. And of course, as the chariot was leaving, the citizens were in great despair. They were completely depressed, and they said, you know what, forget about Ayodhya, we'll come and follow you to the forest, and we'll just stay with you in the forest. And Lord Ram said, no, what's the point? If I'm going to carry Ayodhya with me, it wouldn't be a proper exile. You all have to remain back in Ayodhya, the city, and you have to serve your king, King Bharat. Now, incidentally, Bharat and Shatrughna were not even in the kingdom at that time. They'd gone to their mother's house, many...
Madana-gopāla Prabhu, I think we can hear some construction noise. Is that temple being built?
Is it coming from my microphone?
You're the only one with an active mic.
Oh, it must be the heat that turned on. Wow, that must be pretty powerful. The heat just turned on, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'll make my mic a little less sensitive. Is that better? Let me see. I don't know if that helps. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah, we can go with it, I guess.
You can still hear me, right? Okay.
But it's better than before, Madana-gopāla Prabhu.
Okay, so because I made my mic a little less sensitive. Another thing I could do is there are features here where I could audio settings, and I could see if I can I could do suppress background noise like my fan. Is that any better? I'm suppressing background noise.
Much better.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So that's the cool thing about these features. All right. Great. So then they left the kingdom. Of course, the citizens are very depressed, but they had to, witness this, and it broke their hearts. So as Lord Ram is in the forest, he is worshipped by this forest king, Nishad Raj. There's a beautiful story about the forest king who offered him his whole tribe to the Lord. He said, my tribe is at your disposal. If you need anything, he offered him fruits. It's the best we can offer you. And the Lord Ram gave his blessings. Then they had to cross the river. And so they saw a boatman, and the boatman was so happy to receive the Lord. He said, my Lord, you have come. This is the perfection of my life, and you're going to step onto my boat. So Lord Ram said, okay, sure, yeah, please take us across the river. So as he was about to step onto the boat, the boatman said, no, what are you doing? You can't step onto my boat with those feet. Said, what do you mean? Well, there's something wrong with your feet. There's something wrong with the dust on your feet. I have heard that one time you touched a rock with your feet, and the dust from your feet, lotus feet changed the rock into a woman. And when I heard that, I kind of freaked out. Now, I don't know. I only have this boat. That's my only means of livelihood. And if you touch this boat with your feet and that magical dust on them, if my boat turns into a woman, I'll be in big trouble, because first of all, I'm already married. My wife will get angry at me. Who's this other woman? And I won't have a boat to make a living. So then Lord Ram said, what do you want me to do? Well, okay, so let me wash this magical dust off your lotus feet. And when I wash it off and you let me drink that water, then I'll consider you letting you on my boat. So, of course, this was the very sweet sentiment of this Kevat, the boatman, to get an opportunity to serve the lotus feet of the Lord directly and drink that water. So they got on the boat, and very beautifully, the boatman was just admiring the gorgeous face of Lord Sri Ram and his beautiful lotus feet, and he took him across. And Lord Ram, once they got across, Lord Ram said, okay, listen, I don't have any cash on me, but I could give you my ring. This ring is worth a lot of money, and that could be my payment for a boat ride. The boatman said, no. Two members of the same profession don't pay each other. It's called professional courtesy. When a doctor goes to visit another doctor, they don't charge each other money. When a barber goes to another barber, they just shave each other for free. It's just professional courtesy. So you and I, we're in the same business. And Lord Ram says, what do you mean? How are we in the same business? Well, I'm a boatman. I carry passengers across this little body of water. And you are also a boatman. Your holy name carries people across this ocean of miserable life and suffering and carries them across the spiritual world. You do that. So we're in the same business, you and I. So I can't take a payment from you. So the boatman this way, did not accept that payment, and he offered his obeisances to the Lord. So the Ramayana is filled with incredibly sweet pastimes like this, Okay, just 1 second. Now, of course, Dashrath Maharaj is heartbroken because he can't stand anymore this separation from the Lord. And out of separation, he actually passes away, saying the Lord's name, Ram, 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 and he leaves his body, leaving his widows, and Bharat and Shatrugna crying with their mothers. And it's a really sad day in the kingdom of Ayodhya. Of course, Bharat and Shatrugna had come back from their mother's kingdom, and when they heard this, they're really upset. And Bharat was especially upset at his mother, Kaikeyi, for having done this. So Bharat Maharaj followed Lord Rama, figured out where he was, and ran behind him and said, my lord, you please come back. I will take your place in the forest, and I will be the I will take the curse, or whatever the order is, and you please rule. You're the rightful ruler. And Lord Ram said, no, I have given my word. This is really Mother Kaikeyi's desire. So you have to rule for these next 14 years. Bharat Maharaj said, but you are living in so much austerity, and I can't be living in royal garments and royal comforts like that. So when he went back, Bharat Maharaj took the paduka, or these wooden sandals of the Supreme Lord, Lord Ram, and he worshipped them, and he placed them on the throne of the kingdom. And he said, I can rule on behalf of Lord Ram, but not as the actual king. So it is Lord Ram who is ruling you. And Bharat Maharaj did not live in his royal palace. He lived in a small hut, which is even more austere than living in the forest. And he ate nothing the whole time. He basically just drank water and some barley water or something like that. He was even more austere than Lord Ram in the forest. So this is Bharat's dedication to his brother. So then Sita Ram and Lakshman, they continue their journey through the forest, and they kind of settle into nice ashram there. And Sita Devi is cooking for Ram Lakshman, and every now and then they go out and collect some fruits and some sages to help them out. And so they're passing their days. And one fine day, a very annoying lady comes by. Her name is Shurapankha. She is the sister of a very famous demon by the name of Ravana. And when she was going by, she had some magical powers because she was a demoness. And she saw Lord Rama and like, wow, he's so beautiful. I should make him my husband. I should get married to him. And so she approached Lord Ram that you become mine. And Lord Ram said, no, I'm already married. I can't get married to you. I have my wife here, Sita Devi. She will not be very happy to have another co-wife, So, why don't you go ask my brother Lakshman? He's also quite good looking. And so Lord Ram was teasing her like that. Lakshman got a little upset. Why is my brother telling me to get, sending her to me? It's not good. So she goes to Lakshman and says, okay, well, you're also pretty good. Why don't you get married to me? And Lakshman said, no. You don't want to get married to me. I'm the servant of Lord Ram, you don't want to be married to a servant, you know. My whole focus, Lord Ram, you get married to me, my attention will be diverted. I won't be able to serve him. I won't be give you attention. So better you don't get married. Maybe why don't you, just get out of here. So Surpanta got annoyed. She goes to Ram again, and she sees Sita Devi, and she says, "Oh, it's because of you all this problem is there. I'm going to come and kill you." So she starts attacking Sita Devi. But before she can lunge at Sita Devi, Lakshman blocks her, and he pulls out a dagger and cuts off Shurpanka's nose. And his nose fell down, and Shurpanka was quite upset. Obviously, no one likes to get their nose cut off. In fact, this pastime is so famous. There's a town in India today called Nasik. Nasik actually literally means nose, and that's where her nose fell down. So it's a big city in India right now. So Surpanka went back to her brother Ravana, and she said, I got so. Can you see what this ordinary humans did to me? I want you to avenge me. And Ravana like, get out of my face. Who cares? Ravana didn't even care for her nose. So Surpanka tried a different angle. She told Ravan that, actually, this Sita is got to be the most gorgeous girl in the world, and she belongs to your side, not to the side of that puny human. So that's perked up Ravan's interest. Okay, tell me more. So then she knew that she'll get her revenge. Her powerful brother will go and kidnap Sita, and kill Ram and so on. So Ravan sends this his one demon, his name is Marichi, to lure Ram away from Sita. So Marichi takes the form of a deer, golden deer, and tries to get the attention of Sita. And he succeeds in getting her attention. And Sita says, "My dear Lord, please bring that deer back to me. I've never seen anything so astonishing." And Lord Ram says, "Yes, you're right. It's too good to be true. In fact, it looks like some kind of freaky demon or something trying to distract us." They said, no, look at this beautiful golden sheen. It'll be so nice if you can just grab him for me, bring him here. We can kind of make him our pet. So Lord Ram, he kind of reluctantly agrees. That's just the way, sometimes we have to do it. Like if the wife asks for some shiny things, and whether you want to or not, you gotta go and get it for her. So he did that. He went after the deer. He kept running and running and running, and the deer went miles and miles into the forest. And Lakshman was told to stay back and guard Sita. So Marichi took Lord Ram so far, and then Lord Ram realized, hey, wait a minute, this guy's a demon. So he shot an arrow at the demon. And the demon, Marichi, he was saying his last words while dying, he changed his voice and threw his voice as if he's Lord Ram himself. And it sounded just like Lord Ram. And he said, "Lakshman, come and save me. I'm getting defeated by this demon. I'm hurt. I'm fallen." So Lakshman heard that, but he knew this is not his Lord. So he just disregarded that emergency call. But Sita Devi also heard, and she said, "Lakshman, why don't you go and save our Lord Ram? He needs help." Lakshman said, No, that's not Lord Ram, that's a demon. She said, "No, oh my God, now I know. It seems like you want my Lord Ram to die, and you want to enjoy me separately from him." So Lakshman was really hurt by that. It's like, how can you say that, my dear mother? All I've seen is your lotus feet my whole life. And it's true. Lakshman had never seen even her face. He always looked at Sita Devi as his mother and only looked at her lotus feet. But to protect, to kind of appease her, he said, "Okay, I'll go, but I'm going to draw this magical line, Lakshman Rekha, around the forest, around the hut, and that's in the forest. As you can see, this white line here. And please don't cross that line. Nobody will be able to cross this line into you. If they cross it, they'll be burnt up by Agni." So she said, "Okay, that's fine." And then Lakshman went out to bring back Lord Ram. In the meantime, Ravana, who is dressed up as this mendicant, he comes and he says, "My dear mother, please feed me. You're supposed to feed me as is your duty." And she said, "Yes, of course. Why don't you wait outside and I'll go get some grains for you." So then Ravan tried to enter, and as he was about to cross that line, he got burnt and said, oh, something's going on over here. So then he told Sita Devi, I'm going to wait out here. You have to come. It's your duty to feed me, and you have to come out here. I'm not going to come into your house. It's against my rules. She said, no, it's okay. I'm going to just, why don't you I'm going to just leave this over here, and you can please come and just pick it up. And Ravana was like, no, you have to come out here. That is your etiquette. I'm commanding you to do that. And as Sita Devi, she felt, okay, I shouldn't take an offense of this great sadhu. So she crossed the line that she was told not to cross, that line of Agni Dev, And of course, Ravana showed his true form, and he kidnapped her. And he took her to his kingdom of Lanka. And Lord Ram came, and he started looking for Sita Devi, and he realized that she'd been kidnapped, and he's very, very heartbroken. He's really sad. Now, interestingly, you see the Valmiki Ramayana goes into so much depth and so many details of the story. But if you were to study Srimad Bhagavatam, we know that this story is covered in the 9th canto, but not in so much detail. You see, it's covered very quickly, like how we're covering it. However, Vyasadeva or Shukadev Goswami, he really gets into detail in this particular picture, and he expands it like anything. Even in the 2nd canto, when Lord Ram's incarnation is being described in the list of incarnations, you can see in the 2nd canto, 2.7.24, Shukadev Goswami says the personality of Godhead Lord Ram was aggrieved for his distant, intimate friend Sita, and he was so much full of grief. And then he glanced over the city of enemy Ravana, and he has red hot eyes, and he was overcome with anger. And the great ocean boiled because trembling in fear, and gave way because the ocean was so perturbed by the red hot anger of Lord Ram. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this, that the Lord is a person. He has these divine traits, including things like grief. You may think, how can God have grief? But the Lord has the greatest grief. He experiences it. He actually engages in these pastimes to experience these emotions. We have these emotions because the Lord has them. And so when we read the Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami emphasizes this point very much. And Srila Prabhupada goes in depth on this point of the grief of Lord Ram, and many acharyas have commented on that, and on the anger of Lord Ram towards Lord Ravan. Grief and anger, negative emotions. But when the Lord is doing that, it is not mundane like ours. Our anger cannot boil the ocean like Lord Ram did. So that gives us a clue. It's not the same. We are a tiny part of the Lord, and the Lord is very big. See? So story continues, and they find this Jatayu, the bird who fought with Ravana to try to rescue Sita, but he lost his life, and he gave them the clue that Sita Devi was kidnapped in that direction. On the way, as they're looking for her, they met this Shabari. Shabari was a pure devotee of Lord Ram, and she got to serve the Lord. Now, generally, when we offer something to the Lord, we don't taste it while we're cooking it. But Shabari, she's offering these berries, and she would taste each berry before offering to the Lord to make sure the berry was sweet. And that berry was accepted by Lord Ram because the purity of intention is even greater than the rules and regulations. Of course, we cannot imitate this, but this goes to show the Lord accepts the love of his pure devotees. Mm-hmm. And then as they're traversing the forest, Hanuman, the greatest devotee of Lord Ram, comes and offers his service to the Lord. And the Lord embraces Hanuman. In the meantime, Lord Ram, then he seeks help from the king, the monkey king Sugriva. And Sugriva has a tiff with his brother, and Lord Ram helps Sugriva fight his brother and kills his brother Vali, who's a demoniac brother, And then Ram sends Hanuman with his ring, the ring that he didn't pay the boatman. He said, okay, take this ring, and if you come across Sita, you can tell her that you're my messenger. You can show the proof. So then Hanuman jumps over the ocean into Lanka. Meantime, in Lanka, Ravana is trying to get Sita to become his queen. And Ravana was cursed that he's not allowed to force himself into any woman, otherwise he'll die. So he knew no means no. And Sita Devi had told him no. And so he said, I'm going to have to just kill you and cut you into little pieces. I'm going to give you just a couple more days. So Sita Devi is just sitting in the garden of Ravan, surrounded by these demonesses. And then Hanuman comes with this ring and he says, my dear mother, I am messenger of Lord Ram. Here's his ring. And I've come to rescue you back. So you hop on my back, I'll fly you back to Lord Ram, and you can be rescued. She said, no, Lord Ram will come personally, but just let him know that I'm waiting for him. So then Hanuman, he flies back, but as a bonus service to Lord Ram, and out of anger to Ravan, he burns down the kingdom of Lanka with his tail. All right. And then he comes back to Lord Ram, tells him that Sita Devi is over there in Lanka. And so they build a bridge. The monkey army builds a bridge by writing the name of Sri Ram on the rocks and tossing them into the ocean, and the rocks are floating. They have the floating bridge. It's the magic of Lord Ram. And then the battle ensues. They fight a big battle. The monkey army fights the battle with Ravan's army. And in that battle, Lakshman is very seriously injured. And the Ayurvedic physician says there's only one herb that can cure Lakshman from this arrow wound. That herb is found in the Himalayas on one particular mountain. And he describes the herb to Hanuman. Hanuman goes there, he looks for the herb. It all look the same to him, so he brings back the whole mountain, all the way from Himalayas down to South India to Sri Lanka. And then finally, the herb is administered and Lakshman is saved. Then the battle continues, and Lord Ram successfully kills Ravana. He gets reunited with Sita Devi. When Sita Devi comes forth, Lord Ram says, wait, I don't recognize this woman. And Sita Devi says, I'm your wife, no? She said, no, I don't know you. So then she said, no, I'll prove it. And she enters into a fire to prove her purity. And then she comes out. And then Lord Ram accepts her. And then someone asks, what do you mean you don't know her? I said, well, actually, that was not the real Sita. When that Sita Devi crossed the line of fire in the forest, Agni Dev rescued her at that point. And the Maya Sita, Shadow Sita, was kidnapped by Ravan. And then now when this Shadow Sita stepped back into the fire, Agni Dev took the Shadow Sita back and returned the original Sita who Agni Dev was protecting back to Lord Ram. So Ravan didn't have the original Sita to begin with the whole time. So then Lord Ram accepted Sita back from the fire, and they take a flight from Ravan's own airplane called Pushpak Viman and go back to Ayodhya and live happily ever after. Of course, there's more to the story, but we don't have time to cover all that. So I'm just going to emphasize one quick point here. If you recognize this picture, this is Lord Ram before they crossed over to Lanka. And this is the brother of Ravana who's coming to meet Lord Ram. Brother of Ravana is also a demon because his brother, by blood, he's a demon. But when these Hanuman and Jambavan, they saw these demons flying towards Lord Ram, they're like, oh my God, let's kill them. They're Ravana's brothers. And Lord Ram said, no, they look like he's coming with folded hands. Maybe he wants to say something. He said, no, who knows? They pretended. We just killed them right away. Lord Ram gave them a chance. And it turns out that Vibhishan, the younger brother of Ravana, was actually a pure devotee of Lord Ram, even though he was born in the demoniac family. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes this line from Ramayana, where Lord Ram tells Hanuman that, look, it is my vow that even if only once one seriously surrenders unto me, like Vibhishan is doing right now, and says, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on. You see? So even today's purport, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that the Lord frees us from fear. And all we need to do is surrender to the Lord and say, my Lord, from this day on, I'm yours. That's it. And Lord Ram, he keeps his vow. Etad vritam mama. This is my vow. I will free you from fear. Why? Because actually, our lives in the modern world, even in the ancient world, we are full of fear, uncertainty. We're uncertain what will happen. so many threats in our lives, and we're insecure about so much uncertainty. We're insecure about our own inabilities or capabilities. We're insecure about what other people think about us. Fear is a root cause of so many miserable conditions in our life, in our mind. It leads to problems in the world. You got crime, terrorism. These are all rooted in fear. But Lord Ram says, Sakrideva prapanno, yes, tavasmiti cha yachate, abhayam sarvada tasmai dadami tadvritam mama. I will free you from fear. So let us take advantage today. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted this. I mean, this is very important for those of us who want to be more advanced as devotees. It's very important for us to recognize the Lord's gift to us in the form of fearlessness. There's nothing greater that anyone can benedict upon us. And so on this auspicious day of Lord Ram's appearance, Sri Ramanavami, we can sincerely pray to the Lord to give us the strength, the courage, and the fearlessness to go on with our lives and make progress in spiritual growth toward his lotus feet. So with that, I will end today's class. And if we have any discussion or any comments or questions, please feel free. We have a few more minutes. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful presentation, Madana-gopāla Prabhu. Beautiful. You covered the whole thing. So we have Gail followed by Shikshashtakam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I mean, Haribol. I kind of feel like I have to let Shikshashtakam Prabhu go first because I know his hand was up before mine. Is it?
No, he's a gentleman. He will let you talk first.
Ladies first.
Thank you. Yeah, Prabhu, my question is about Lord, the genuineness of or authenticity of Lord Ram's grief. So I understand that his grief is not like ours because our grief is impelled by the modes, I guess, and Lord Ram's is impelled by his internal potency, which is always blissful. But I'm having a problem still with the authenticity of it because he is omniscient. Therefore, he knew that the real Sita was not abducted. So was it, Yogamaya at work here that put him in illusion that it was the real Sita who was abducted and therefore he was actually grieving? Or what's the deal here?
Yes, this is a great question. That when you say authenticity, what is his actual feeling? Is he actually feeling the grief, or is it only a show or a drama meant to kind of convey a message to those who are watching the story? Is his feeling genuine? And it's a good question. The answer is it is both, because the Lord is multifaceted. He can do multiple things at the same time. He gives a message. And the acharyas have commented on this in particular. They say that the Lord wants to give us a message that look at this condition. He's trying to say, look at my condition. Anyone who is so attached to his spouse, or to a particular person out of just mundane affection, and they're separated, you'll be miserable. Learn to be detached. This is actually Acharya's commentary. That's one message. However, it is not a drama. He actually feels this emotion much more than even we can feel. You see, so it's not a drama. It's a feeling. In Damodarashtakam, that second, Rudantam muhur netra yugma murjantam, karam bhoj yugmena satanka netram. That Krishna is described as having fear in his eyes and he's crying. Satanka, terrified. He's terrified of his mother. Atanka means terror. Sa atanka means full of terror, not just fear, but the nth degree of fear called terror. Is he terrified of his mother? Yes, he actually is afraid that he's going to really get a whack from that stick. He's trembling out of fear. It is not just a show. He is into it. He feels it. He is literally trembling. You see, sometimes one may think the sweetness is the best taste, right? Of course it is. But does it mean that people who enjoy sweets don't also enjoy spicy food? Some people also enjoy spicy food until it makes their nose run and eyes water. And they find this is enjoyable. And you might think, oh, you're a billionaire. Why the heck would you not just eat cake all day? No, I like to enjoy spicy food too. So spicy is like a negative, where your eyes are watering. No, I enjoy that. So you see, the Lord enjoys even negative, supposedly negative things. Bitter food is not considered the best taste, but still, people enjoy bitter food. You got shukta and so many karela. People enjoy it. Bitterness is an enjoyable taste also. The Lord is multifaceted. He likes to enjoy these tastes. He likes to enjoy anger. He enjoys the grief. How can you enjoy it? Because the Lord, these feelings are in us because they're in the Lord. So we have to understand from that point, from the rasa. It's not fake. It conveys a meaning, but it also a taste the Lord wants to enjoy. And as you said correctly, Yogamaya facilitates this covering, so he can fully get into that mood. Thank you for that question.
That separation is an intensifying love. It's a super
intensifier. Yes, separation is an intensifier. And it's a way to express your love too. Thank you, Prabhu. All right. We have Shikshashtakam Prabhu and Yashodhala Prabhu also.
Hare Krishna. Very nice tying in with the purport of the class, talking about how Lord Ramchandra can give us fearlessness, and at the same time talking about the idea of that was given in the purport. I just had a recollection in connection with that. I remember back in 1983, I don't know, you're probably too young to know this, Madana-gopāla, but there was a television program back in the Cold War called The Day After, and it was a very traumatic event. Actually, it was about the nuclear war that happened, that would happen perhaps, it was a, fiction, but everybody was so traumatized that they had to have psychological therapy. And I remember my spiritual master, after the devotees got back, we watched it in some student union somewhere, because we were out, distributing. And so when we got back, my Guru Maharaj said, the devotees or the karmis have no hope, because they were all just like completely devastated. The whole world was gone. And he said, but the devotees have no fear. And so that is like, I always had a fearful idea of what may happen, between all these different nation states like Iran or whatever. Prabhupada said that the war would happen between Pakistan and India. But, whatever, it might be Russia now. But now everybody's speculating, and there's so much worry that things have changed now. It's no longer a deterrent, this nuclear war. But Prabhupada said, what we do if the bombs come, Srila Prabhupada, he just said, chant Hare Krishna. And, devotees have no fear in that way. And I find myself, at least theoretically, I don't know what I do in the situation, but at least theoretically, I'm feeling, I don't even care if there's a nuclear holocaust, because you got to go anyway sometime, But another point I wanted to make, when you were talking about Sita wanting the deer, the golden deer, it seems inconceivable that, sometimes Krishna is like an unpicked husband, like Satyabhama wants the Parijata tree. She wanted the whole tree. And, Krishna has to do this. It just reminded me of a comedian was saying, if your wife is looking for a car, that means you're going to buy a car. And if you're looking at a house, that means you're going to buy a house. And so, but how do we reconcile the behavior of these personalities? Sometimes it's inconceivable, because even Kunti Devi was saying, like, this is amazing. I can't understand how, you're acting like an ordinary human being, like Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet he's crawling in Nanda Maharaj's courtyard. So how do we reconcile this apparently ordinary behavior with, and understand that he or she is the supreme representative of the goddess or God, the Supreme Personality?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, it's a very good, the reason why it's a good question is because this question doesn't just perturb us humans. It perturbs people, the great personalities who are in the higher realms. I'll give you the example. So when Lord Ram was in the forest grieving, looking for Sita Devi, one of the people who observed this was Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva. And she observed it like, what on earth is going on here? There's no way this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She said, I'll prove it. And Brahma also got confused like that, right? When he saw Krishna in the forest, little boy. But Parvati got really confused. She said, this is bogus. Finally, I can see this is not really the Lord. This is just some dude. So she takes the form of Sita Devi. Parvati takes on the form of Sita Devi, identical. And she comes in front of Lord Ram. As Lord Ram is looking for Sita, and Lord Ram looks around where Sita is crying, his eyes are blinded with, and then he sees this Parvati, fake Sita, and he just ignores her completely. And she comes in front of him again, here I am, here I am. He just ignores her, and then she realizes, oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake. So then she goes back to Lord Shiva. And she had asked Lord Shiva before, what's going on? And Lord Shiva says, no, this is the Lord's pastimes. So then Lord Shiva, she goes back to Lord Shiva and she just goes back to regular form. And Lord Shiva asks, so, but what happened? Did you try anything? Did you do anything? She said, no, nothing's happening. Just another day looking around. She pretended she didn't do it. And Lord Shiva knew she's lying and he got really angry at her. First of all, you think he's an ordinary person. Fine. Anybody can make that mistake. But you went and tried to prove that. Fine, okay, that's your foolishness. But you're coming back and lying to me, you didn't even try that, and he got so angry at her. So these kind of things are going on even in the upper realms. He's going to burn her to ashes, So these are happening in the upper realms where Parvati is basically the material nature herself, and she can undergo this. So naturally, your question is very apt. How can we understand this? So we take the shelter of our spiritual masters and their guidance to understand that we cannot understand. To conceive the notion that there is such a thing as inconceivable, at least we can accept that. But that in itself is the Lord's greatness, because if he doesn't blow your mind, he's not God. See, so thank you very much. Yes, Hare Krishna. Yashodhara Prabhu. Yes, Shikshashtak Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yashodhara Prabhu. Haribol.
Thank you so much. Such a relishable class. Ramayana is actually so big. Valmiki Ramayana is actually 24,000 verses versus Srimad Bhagavatam's 18,000 verses. So it's actually even longer. And, I love studying about Lord Ram. And, Srila Prabhupada actually wanted to translate Valmiki Ramayana. Mm-hmm. And of course, he translated other books first, and then his manifest pastimes ended on the planet and he didn't do it. So now actually the disciples and followers of Srila Jayapataka Swami are translating Ramayana right now, canto by canto. So the first 2 cantos are out. The 3rd canto is coming in a week's time. And I thought I would share, because if there are other people who are lovers of Ramayana, I would share these books that I got like a few weeks ago, and I'm getting the 3rd canto later. So these are all Ramayana books, and I'll put in the chat how devotees can order them from someone in Brooklyn. He'll ship them for free across the US. So it's pretty good. And I thought that'd be nice to meditate on, because I, for one, am looking to dive into the details of Ramayana, like some of the details you told about, Guha saying you and I are in the same profession. You are a boatman, I'm a boatman. I'd not actually heard that. So that's so transcendental and so wonderful. So your class was like really relishable. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. And so we have some nice comments on the chat box as well about fear. We survive fear because we know it is not permanent, and we understand it's up to us to overcome fear and live in faith. A lot of the times we think fear is fear of failure or fear of something negative. But we have to identify the fear in our heart. And a lot of the times we may not realize it. Our fear is a fear of success. We're actually afraid that we'll succeed as devotees. Why? Because when we succeed as devotees, we'll give up these multifarious desires that constitute the majority of our daydreams and night dreams. And we have so invested in this idea that we'll be able to enjoy in the material world, that if we have to abandon all those dreams because we finally realize it's illusion, we're afraid of breaking that illusion. And so the Lord frees us from that fear too. And he fills our consciousness and our lives with so much nectar that we see that this nectar of the material world pales in comparison. So we have to overcome that fear, not fear of failure, fear of success in spiritual life. So let us pray to the Lord to give us fearlessness from all these fears that block our path in the form of our false ego and so on, and our illusions. And let us be more like Hanuman and less like Ravan. Because in our hearts we have a little Hanuman, a little Ravan. Ravan wants to see Lakshmi away from Narayan, take her away, enjoy. Hanuman wants to take Lakshmi back to Narayan, rescue her. So let us be more like Hanuman. Use our Lakshmi in the Lord's service, not in our selfish service. And this way we can change the balance. Hare Krishna.
Well, Vasudeva Prabhu said that we could go a little longer today because the deities are going to be.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, thank you. So I wanted to expand on this point because, in India, we see, if you go into many shops, right, they have, little shops, a big shop, they have this picture of Lakshmi Devi, and she has this like coins of gold coming out and pots of gold in front, and they're offering agarbatti in the morning when they open the shop and they bow down to her. That is not a bona fide way of worshiping Lakshmi Devi. Why? Imagine if I send an invitation to someone's wife that I'm having a party, you please come. Your husband, you can stay home. You come. What do you mean? What kind of etiquette is that? That means I have some nefarious or unscrupulous intentions. I don't want your husband in the picture. So the painting of Lakshmi Devi without Narayan means what? I want to enjoy Lakshmi without Narayan. And whose mood is that? That is a mood of Ravana. Kidnap Lakshmi, enjoy her separately from Narayan. And the mood of Hanuman is we engage Lakshmi Devi, bring her back to the lotus feet of Lord Ram, Lord Narayan. So we get money as we work, and somehow we get access to Lakshmi Devi. But when we engage that Lakshmi Devi in our selfish service, sense gratification, without engaging her in the service of Lord Ram, Lord Shri Krishna, then that Lakshmi Devi becomes like that Maya Lakshmi, Maya Sita. And that Maya Sita was the cause of the destruction of Ravana. Ravana was not a dumb fellow. He had 10 heads representing, 10 times intelligence of any person. He was so smart, but he misapplied his intelligence. He had access to so much power, but his big mistake was he did not recognize the Supreme Lord. And so when we have access to Lakshmi, we can use her in Krishna's service. To the extent we use our resources in Krishna's service, to that extent we are Hanuman, and to that extent the Lord reciprocates. To the degree someone reciprocates with me, to that degree I reciprocate with him. So it's really up to us. He will not force us. It is up to us. But this is a great meditation on today, on this auspicious day. And I can tell you from practical experience that asking the Lord very sincerely on this day particularly does work. It worked for me. I'll tell you, back in, I think it's 2003 or something like that, I was having a hard time completing my rounds. I'd been initiated for a few years. I would complete them, but maybe sometimes I'll do 14 rounds and 2 rounds I'll do the next day. It was very hard. I was working hard and all that. But that one night in 2004, it was April, and I said, my Lord Ram, I'm really begging you, please give me the strength to complete my rounds. I promised my spiritual master, and I don't want to carry them over the next day. I just want to do it. Please. And then from that day on, I'll tell you, it became much easier. I haven't missed a single day by the mercy of Lord Ram. It's been how many years now? I'll celebrate almost 20 years of unbroken, like even a single day, no 24-hour cycle has passed without me finishing my 16. This is a very simple little thing, okay? It's not a big thing, but for me, it's big. For me, it means a lot because I see the strength and the power that comes from the mercy of Lord Ram. This is like someone may think, oh, this is an insignificant thing, but I'm just a little squirrel. But this is the mercy of the Lord that we ask for something, He will give it to us. So if today we take a special occasion, our heart would bow down to Lord Ram with all our intention. And if we have any struggles in our life, especially in our spiritual life, He will certainly grant it to us. There's no question about it. So I have full confidence in that. And we can take advantage of this day today. And it's a Sunday, which is very nice. It also lines up with Palm Sundays as a celebration, religious, spiritual celebration happening all over the world. Might as well, really let us focus and add more intention to our life today. All right. Yashodhara Prabhu, you have a hand is up. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I had a question. Thank you. That was very inspirational. Begging for the strength to complete our vows and stay faithful to Srila Prabhupada and our gurus. That's a huge thing in Kali Yuga. Question for you. When Kaikeyi, does Valmiki Ramayana say this anywhere or the Acharyas say this anywhere? When Kaikeyi asked for boon number 2, 14 years of vanvas or banishment to the forest, that was an age when people lived for over 10,000 years. Like it's described that Ram ruled for 11,000 years after coming back from Lanka. Why did she only ask for 14 years as opposed to like 10,000 years or 5,000 or something?
I was thinking
he was gone completely.
I was thinking the same thing, but still 14 years is 14 years. That's about how long it'll take to establish your rule. So her idea was that by 14 years enough to establish Bharat's rule, and after that people recognize Bharat is better or something. This is just a number that came up, mantra came up with it. But that's a good question. Relatively speaking, it's just a flash in the pan for someone who's living 10,000 years. In the previous Yuga, people lived for 100,000 years. And then in Treta Yuga, they lived for 10,000 and then 1,000. Now, 80, 85, 100 maximum. But yeah, it's a good question. I also thought about the same thing. 14 years is insignificant. But I guess she understood also that even one day without Lord Ram would probably break the heart of Dashrath, so she probably kept it 14. But I'm sure Acharyas must have mentioned that or talked about it. I'm not that familiar. It's a good question. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Miraculous class. I mean, astounding that you could give so many details of Lord Ram's pastimes in such a short class. I don't know how your spiritual master empowered you to do that. It's very wonderful. And we've mentioned this before, this Morai Bapu who does just the Ramayana with no scenery, no actors, no music, no costumes. And he speaks to thousands of people and he talks for 5 or 6 days and he talks all day long, 8, 9 hours. And when people hear, I mean, you just went through an emotional smorgasbord there. The pain, the love, the different emotions that these pastimes evoke are so profoundly intense. I can barely even squeeze out a few facial expressions to respond to the things that you went through so quickly. But the Ramayana, the depth of the emotional exchanges between the characters is something that, and it's astounding to me that devotees can just sit through the class, no crying, no laughing, no, a deep, deep, deep eruption, like volcanic eruption of like feeling that, and they took Sita. I mean, the way we could, if we were really, what Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya said, if I was a real devotee, I would die out of separation from Krishna. So I feel like that. If I was a real devotee, I'd be weeping and tearing my hair out, literally. Done. But somehow or other expressing, responding. Arjuna is making a wisecrack about my hair. Responding in a more, profound way, and not just sitting there like in psychology they say dullness of affect. That people don't laugh, don't cry, that they don't. So it's I'm just expressing my appreciation of the wonderful way you did this, and also my inability to properly respond to all these different dramatic pastimes, right? You feel like that sometimes? Do you ever cry in class, when you hear, they took Sita, you know what I mean? I mean, you have to see these thousands of people weeping all day long. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's a good question. In fact, there's a story around this. There's a lady who went to hear Ram Katha. And when this pastime came of Lord Ram grieving and looking for Sita, she started crying and crying and crying the whole time. And then later on, the speaker, he asked her, "So you were just so moved by that point, and why are you crying?" And she said, "Well, I had a goat, and my goat ran away. And when I heard this Sita Devi also disappeared, and I started remembering my goat, and I still cried and cried about my goat." So then the Acharya's comment on even that story is saying that, just because someone is crying doesn't necessarily mean they're crying for the right thing. If you listen to Gaur Govinda Maharaj's class, I used to hear his classes many years ago, and he used to say that people are crying in this world. Even the pig is crying, but the pig is crying, "Where is stool? Give me stool." So crying in and of itself is not necessarily transcendental. So we people, we cry. I lost my money. Where's my money? Money is considered gold. Gold is just considered yellow stool, for a transcendentalist. But we cry for these things. However, crying is a great way of purifying ourselves. But we should be careful what motivates our emotions. So when we cry for the Lord, or even if we cry for the inability to cry for the Lord, we can take it as many levels away as we want, as long as the intention is that, my Lord, purify my desire for this yellow stool. I'm crying for this yellow stool. I'm sad that I'm crying for it. And even that sadness is purifying, so it gets, it can get very, very hairy, because our entanglement in the mature world is quite tenacious and many subtle levels. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, we've opened a school of crying. What we do is a school of crying. I want you to cry until the couch is soaked, and you can, wring the water out of it. That's how much we should cry on a daily basis. Not just soak our clothes; the entire couch should get soaked. So it's very purifying. But we cry for the Lord. If you can't do that, then we cry for our inability to do that. But yes. Jai.
The heart is steel framed if it doesn't cry when chanting. And Prabhupada tells that story. The one man went to the place where they're doing all the funerals. What's the name of that? Where they have all the funeral, when somebody dies, they go there and they burn the bodies by the river. So he said the man was crying, and somebody said, "Oh, you have such a tender heart. You're crying to see these people and missing their father and everything." He said, "I'm crying because all my life I've been in the cloth business, but when I see all this wood being used, I should have been in the wood business." He's crying. He didn't have a more profitable, he's crying because he saw the wood being purchased and burnt. And he thought, I should have done that. I would have made a lot more money. But you're right. We cry for the wrong things. We pray for the wrong things.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this class.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees, for
the rest of my life.
Hare Krishna.
We want to become like you when we grow up. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madana-gopāla Prabhu. Beautiful, engaging, authoritative presentation. Would anyone else like to say anything? Martha, would you like to share how you cry out of happiness? No? Okay. Yes, she says yes. Good. Okay.
I was unmuting my mic.
Oh, would you like to share your realizations, takeaways from this class?
Yes.
Martha?
Many times when I'm in a beautiful place and in front of magnificent nature, and then you feel smaller than a squirrel, then you cry. I do cry. I do cry to see how little I am in such an amazing place.
And how wonderful is Krishna. How wonderful is Krishna.
And how little we how rarely we realize that we're so lucky of being in such a beautiful place. So I cry. But then I realize I cry of happiness because I am where I am.
Nice.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
well,
It's interesting
Krishna
you shared that. It's interesting you share that smaller than a squirrel. You know, in the pastime of Lord Ram, when they're building the bridge. If you see this, they're building the bridge. If you look carefully, in the bottom corner over here, there's a little squirrel.
that's Martha.
Yeah, you see, and
I see it now.
yeah. Now the reason why I bring this up is because there's a story behind the squirrel, right? Lord Ram actually, see, the squirrel also wanted to participate in the bridge. You see, now the squirrel can't lift these big rocks like these monkeys. They're just lifting these boulders and turning. The squirrel would take a tiny pebble or even tiny grains of sand, and it would toss it on the bridge. And sometimes the monkeys like, come out of the way. You're just being annoying, And then Lord Ram said, no, this little squirrel, he's also trying to serve in his little capacity. He's giving his 100%, you're giving your 100%. His 100% may not look as big as your 100%, but percentage wise it's exactly the same.
I'm just as pleased by him, right?
Yeah, just as pleased by him. In fact, he gave him a blessing. He lifted the squirrel and he put his hand over the back of the squirrel. And today there's lines that you see in the back of the squirrel. That's the blessing of the Lord Ram. So today, if you look at any squirrel, there's those lines it can be reminded of Lord Ram. Now, interestingly, this is just a side note in terms of editing of the books and all that. That Srila Prabhupada, when he would translate this part, or when he comments on this, he pronounced this squirrel as squirrel, right? That's just the way he would pronounce it in that area. And those who were notating his word, because he was audio recording, they're trying to figure out what is a squirrel. So then they probably thought he said spiral. So they wrote down spiral. And then the next level editor, they said, what's a spiral? They must have said, they must have misspelled spider. So the final book ended up with the word spider. So then we have to go back, if you listen carefully, go back to the recording again. Then you realize actually not spider, it's squirrel. You see, now, some people say you should not edit any books, but sometimes we do need to sometimes correct these things. As Prabhupada said, squirrel actually, but it's actually not spider, it's squirrel. And so nowadays, even devotees tell the story of the spider, but it was actually a squirrel. All right, it's a side note. Hare Krishna.